World War II brought about many technical innovations, and for Australia, one of those was a plucky little fighter plane, the Boomerang. On the 7th of December 1941, the Pacific War began with a series of unanticipated, near-simultaneous attacks by Japanese forces against Pearl Harbor, Thailand, Malaya, and the Philippines. With Japan gaining control over vast areas of the Pacific and Southeast Asia, Australia was in a precarious position. Whilst most Royal Australian Air Force aircraft came from the United Kingdom, by 1942 the British aircraft industry was hard-pressed to meet the needs of its own country. Meanwhile, the enormous aircraft manufacturing capacity of the United States was being fully utilised, as they were also at war with Japan. Even if capacity could be found for new aircraft to be built overseas, they'd need to be shipped in wartime conditions, with the risk of losses due to German U-boats and Japanese submarines. Australia needed to build its own fighter plane. By late 1941, manager and chief designer of the Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation, CAC, Lawrence Wackett, was thinking of a new domestically designed fighter aircraft. A fighter plane had never been manufactured before in Australia, and many experts considered that it would be beyond the capabilities of Australia's industry at the time. Wackett quickly decided to use elements of aircraft that were already being produced in Australia, the CAC Wirraway and the Bristol Beaufort bomber. CAC's license to manufacture the Wirraway already contained a clause allowing the design to be modified. The airframe of this was a starting point. He chose the Pratt & Whitney R1830 Twin Wasp engine, as it was already being made under license by CAC at their factory in Lidcombe, Sydney. The engine also powered the new Grumman F4F Wildcat fighters of the United States Navy. Wackett promptly recruited designer Fred David, an Austrian Jew who had recently arrived in Australia as a refugee. David was well suited to the CAC project since he had previously worked for Heinkel in pre-Nazi Germany as well as Mitsubishi in Japan. He had an excellent understanding of advanced fighter designs, including the Mitsubishi Zero fighter. The new aircraft had received the designation CA-12. It used the wing, tail, undercarriage and centre section of the Wirraway, in combination with a new forward fuselage, a new single-seat cockpit with sliding hood, bulletproof glass, armour protection, and it carried armament of two 20mm cannons, along with 4 303 machine guns. The Australian government viewed the CA-12 as an appropriate insurance against any delay or cancellation of its order for US-built P-40 fighters. On 18th of February 1942, the Australian War Cabinet authorised an order for 105 CA-12 aircraft, and shortly thereafter, the name Boomerang was selected for the aircraft. The Boomerang was a small, single-engine monoplane fighter designed with an emphasis on high manoeuvrability. On 29th of May 1942, the prototype Boomerang, A46-1, conducted its maiden flight from Fisherman's Bend. The initial prototype had been completed within only 3 months of having received the order to proceed, which was a considerably rare accomplishment for the era. The plane was quickly put to use for a series of test flights. These tests reportedly went smoothly, with the prototype proving to be easy to handle and quite manoeuvrable. By June 1943, manufacturing of the original order for 105 CA-12s was complete. In September 1944, the Australian government extended production arrangements for the Boomerang, ordering a further 145 aircraft. The Boomerang ended up differing substantially from the Wirraway, having adopted shorter wings along with a shorter, wood-sheathed, aluminium-framed fuselage, which had increased strength to withstand combat stresses. No. 83 Squadron became the first fighter unit to receive the Boomerangs at Strathpine Airfield in Queensland in April 1943, followed by Frontline Air Defence Unit, No. 84 Squadron, on Horn Island in the Torres Strait, and No. 85 Squadron at RAF Guildford, later known as Perth Airport. On the 16th of May 1943, a pair of Boomerangs flown by Flying Officer Johnson and Sergeant Stammer spotted 3 Mitsubishi G4M Betty bombers and opened fire upon them at 250 yards, resulting in the enemy's withdrawal. Number 84 Squadron had been deployed on Horn Island to address Japanese air raids. However, the Boomerang's low top speed and poor high altitude performance meant that Number 84 could drive off enemy attacks but would rarely get close enough to Japanese aircraft to bring their guns to bear. After using Boomerangs for 8 months, Number 84 Squadron upgraded to Kitty Hawk fighters. While records show that the Boomerang was never recorded as having destroyed any enemy aircraft, the type proved to be ideal as a light ground attack aircraft used by Army cooperation squadrons. In this vital mission, the Boomerang directly contributed to the extensive ground war in the jungles of the Southwest Pacific Theater. Flying in pairs, one to observe the ground and the other to observe the air around them, their tasks include bombing, strafing, close infantry support, and artillery spotting. On the 14th of February 1945, the wartime role of the Boomerang came to an end with the suspension of all offensive operations against land targets. The planes returned to their home bases. With a surplus of far more capable US fighters now available, most of the Boomerangs were destroyed. Only 9 aircraft survive to this day. 2 are on static display, 5 are being restored, and 2 are airworthy. The best known of these is aircraft number 122, a CA-13 variant flying with the Temora Aviation Museum in New South Wales.